Hi everyone, it's Connor DC again, and I'm back for my 5th episode of building the Daily Digest newsletter service in the Power Platform. I'm in a completely different environment today, so I'm in the office today, which is different to my little home studio, which I've been slowly putting together. So today's video is going to be something a little bit more simple. There's nothing too highfalutin in this one, but basically the reason for that is we've had GlobalCon5, Collab365 conference running this week. We've had workshops, which is a new installment to Collab365 as well. So a lot of my time's been spent kind of attending and helping manage and run that event. So I've not really had much time to put into this. However, I've spent the last 2 days kind of looking at what I could be doing. So we're going to stick at something a little bit more simple, which is we're going to be looking at the user interface, the UX, UI of our application, trying to come up with some better ways to make it look a lot more appealing and user-friendly for our users. Sound's gone a little robotic. Let me just check that in 2 seconds. Is that okay? Is that better? But anyway, so what I'm going to be doing today is, again, I'm going to look into the kind of user interface and make it a little bit more user-friendly for our users. So the first things first is we're just going to head over to our Power App. I'm not sure why. Let me just check one thing. Just bear with me a second. Okay, is that any better? I've just moved it to a different USB port. Hopefully that's improved. Sorry, this chair's very creaky as well. But anyway, let's jump into it. So basically what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at components in Power Apps and how we can utilize them across multiple screens without having to copy and paste or duplicate kind of different components or inserts, should I say, from this inputs list. So what we can do is we can create them in components and then bring in the component for use in our screens. So we're going to start off by looking at sound is fine. I'm not sure where that tapping noise is coming from. But we're going to start off by looking at, I've forgotten where I was now. Building our component, more specifically the header component for our application, which is going to allow users to navigate to and from different screens much more efficiently than what we currently have, which is these buttons that we have set up, which I've copied and pasted. And if we kind of go to my tree view and we go between each screen, you can see that they're all slightly different, where I've been copying and pasting and not quite aligned things perfectly. Now that's where components is going to come into play. So to create a component, we go to our tree view and we go to the components tab at the top, and we have the option to create a new component. So if I select this, we can create a component, and I can rename this component. And I'm just going to name this to the menu component. And it's now created as a component. And we can specify the kind of size that we want. And I know that Power Apps by default has a default width of 640, which is automatically chosen here. But we don't want 640 on the height. I'm going to make this 250. Oh, let's not go with that. So I'm going to make this 250. Actually, we'll go with 300. And this is going to be a kind of nice little header size for our header. So when we create a new component, we get these custom properties which appear on the properties panel on the right. And this is where we can define our input properties and our output properties. So what we'll do is we'll create a new custom property. I'm just going to drag this up and out of the way. I'm not sure why that's appearing there. There we go. And for our input name, our display name, I'm just going to call this menu items. And it's automatically done that with no spaces as well. And I'm just going to give this a description, a list of navigation tabs. And this is going to be property type input. And we're going to make this a data type of table. And you'll see why in just a second. So we can click create. And now we have our menu items property of type table here. And secondly, we need an output component as well. And this is going to be basically the name or the string of our menu items. So again, we'll go new custom property, and we'll name this, we'll call this menu label. I'm not sure what's going on with my capitalization there. We'll call this menu label, and we'll just name this description for label of menu items. And we can select the property type as output. And this is just going to be text. It's just a string. It's just the name of the tabs that we're going to be using. So text is fine for this. And we can click create. So now we have our menu items as our input, which is a table, and our menu label, which is our output property, which is of type text. So the next thing we need to do on here is start adding some content into our component. Now the way I'm going to display my tabs is through a gallery. We've used vertical galleries before, which we'll probably get onto when we build the second part of this navigation. But for this bit, we're going to use a horizontal gallery, which is going to allow us to display items from a table or data source horizontally. So if we go to layout, and we can select horizontal gallery, and I can just bring this up, go back to the tree view. I can select our gallery and just kind of position this how we want it. It's probably going to be about that size. I'm just going to go to the, I'm just going to select on the images, sorry. And I'm just going to get rid of some of the information we don't need. So we just got the title text there, which is all we need to display the title of our tabs. And I can just bring this down a little bit as well. You can see it's added a bunch there, but we'll get to that and we'll sort that out in just a second. So I'm just going to rename the gallery as well, because we're going to be using this name when we start filling out some of our formula. So it's just something that we can easily remember. So I'm just going to call this menu gallery. And we need to basically populate this gallery with some data, which is going to allow us to switch between tabs. So a tutorial I watched earlier this morning was quite interesting, as it basically used a little bit of dummy data just to test to make sure what you're trying to bring onto your gallery is actually happening. So I'm just going to use the same kind of formula which he went through. It's just a way so I can make sure that before I actually start putting the screen titles into these fields, that I have something there and it actually works. So up at the top left, we're just going to hit the drop down here, and we are going to select our menu items. And by default, it's just filled out some sample stuff in here, which we can remove. And in here, we want to basically just fill out some dummy data, some test data, which we can display. So we're going to start off by using the formula table with our open brackets and our open curly brackets, and this is going to allow us to put an array of data inside here. And we're going to use an ID of 0, which isn't actually really needed, but it's just so we can differentiate between the different tabs later on. And then we're going to create a new record called menu label. Kind of want to put a space there. It's kind of what I've been used to. And then we're just going to give this the name sample tab. Inside some parentheses there, as it's a string. And then we basically want to select or choose which screen it goes to. So we can do this by doing the formula screen, colon, and then doing app, and then .active screen. And this is going to get the active screen, which is currently selected on our application. So that's exactly how we want it. Now we need to basically populate the gallery with this sample information. So if we select our gallery, and we can then, let's have a look. Under the items, we can add another expression here, and this is going to be basically getting the name of our component, which is menu component, and then we can do a dot, and then we can select menu items. The menu items is basically the input name for our components. When we was in our component here, it's just going to be whatever we titled the input table to, or component, inside of our component, the input value. So we can see that that's now changed. We have one value in there, which is, if I extend this, which is called sample tab, which is what we named it inside of our menu label. So let's go to our menu component. And if we go to our menu label, which was the output of our component, by default, this is just text. You can also get to this by going to advanced, and it's underneath the menu items in here as well. So any kind of custom input output variables that you've got in there will appear here. But it's just easier for me to select it up here as well. So I'm going to go to menu label, and we basically need to change what's in here by default at the top. So what we need to do is we need to basically get our menu gallery, and then we're going to say if it's selected, then we want to retrieve the menu label. Let me just check that I've done that correctly. Yeah, this is all very new to me. I'm still in the kind of learning process of everything that I'm displaying and sharing with you on a Friday. So, I mean, if there's better ways of doing it that you guys have seen, then hopefully you guys can help out as well. So we have our menu label under the menu labels. So if we go to our template gallery, what we can do, first of all, before I actually do that, is I'm just going to bring this into our screen. So I'm just going to create a new tab, a new screen for now, just to see kind of how this looks. So I'm just going to create a new blank screen, and up here on the insert tab, if you go to custom, you can see that we have our menu component just up here as well. So we can see that our sample tab is in there as expected. Which the whole point of using components is I can add as many screens as I want. Screen 2, let's add screen 3. And all I have to do is literally just bring this component on here. And then if I go to the components tab, any adjustments that I make, whether I make it smaller and then go back to our screens, it's going to basically stay the same across all of our screens. So I'm just going to delete those for now. So we're just going to be working with the one for now. And I'm just going to bring that back out again. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the kind of appearance of these tabs, just so they look a little bit more colourful. We can do this by going to the menu gallery, and we can, if I remember where it is. So I'm just going to change the colour. So if I go to custom, I'm going to use the Collab365 default red, which is BE36, what was it, 21. And that's going to give us our nice red. And I'm just going to make the text colour, we'll just go with white, just to make that stand out. And I can just bring that into the centre a little bit there. So what we can also do is when a specific tab is selected in our menu, we can give it a different colour, which is basically just going to give the user a little bit of feedback to say that they are on the actual screen that they want to be on. So we can do this by going to our gallery, And under the drop down here, we can scroll down and we've got template fill. And by default, we've just got this red, green, blue alpha expression, which we can get rid of. And this is, was that not the right one? Let me just check that. 3621, yeah. So yeah, we can go back to here, go to our template fill, and we're going to use an if expression. And the if expression is basically going to allow us to do one of two things. So if the kind of expression that you put in there is true, then it will do something. If it's not, then it will do something else if you choose it, if you basically assign it to do something else. So all we need to do is start off with the expression if, and then we can do an open brackets. And this is where we can then say which tabs, or should I say, we want to basically make it so whichever tab is selected, it will change the color of that tab. So we're going to do this item. Again, I'm just going to do the autofill stuff here, and we'll do a full stop, which is going to allow us to bring the second part of this, which is going to be is selected. So if this item is selected, then we want to do a color fade. And the color fade basically needs to know what it's fading. So we're going to use the menu gallery. Again, I'm just going to autofill. We'll do full stop, and then we want to change the fill color of our menu gallery. So we'll then do a comma, and then we can then select by how much we want this selected item to fade. So we'll start off with 50%, kind of see how that looks. Remember, we have to close that off with a close brackets. Just remember as well that whenever you're doing close brackets, you'll run into kind of syntax errors if you're not closing off every single open brackets that there is. So we need to make sure that we're closing off here where the menu gallery begins, and we're closing off where the this item is selected begins. So there's going to be two closed brackets. We can see that that's kind of changed color now, so we know that the sample tab is the one that's selected, and I think that's a little bit too bright, so we'll go with we'll try 30%. I think that might be brighter. Actually, that's darker. That seems a bit nicer. We'll try 25. Yep, that looks perfect to me. I think that looks quite nice. So now, whichever tab, when we actually get to this point, is selected, there'll be a kind of color change, a little bit of user feedback as they select the tabs that they want to go to. So let's go to our screen, and we'll go to our menu component. So at the moment, if I go to, let me just find it. So if I go to menu items, even though it's picking up what we set in the component, we can actually change this, and this will work dynamically per screen that we choose. So we could assign this on screen 1, screen 2, our recent screen, my new screen, popular screen, to something completely different, but the format will still stay the same. So let's have a look. In here, we need to basically we need to go to our menu items on our screen, and we need to assign this to our menu items, our actual screens. So if I can remember how to do this, because this got a little bit more complex as there was quite a bit of expressions and things to add here. So I've just got to bear with me. I have written some notes to help me along with this. One thing that was mentioned is that the app, if you click on the three dots, has to be run on start. And I think that allows me to add what I need to do in here. So let me just change this to, I think it was now for menu items. I can't remember where I got that from. Yeah, so we'll leave that blank just for now because we need to basically declare what nav menu items is, which I have already done when I was testing. But basically what it's going to do is it's going to, as we did last week, use a collection. And this is going to basically collect a list of all of the screens that we have. So we can do this when the app starts. So if we go to app, and I'm going to clear this out for now because I'm just going to remove the format as well. I'm going to clear this out for now, as this was what we tested earlier. I'm going to show you how to build this from scratch. So we're going to use the expression clear collect, which basically clears all of the previous values in our collection and then collects new ones. And this will do this every time that the app loads. If any new screens get added, we can do that straight from here, and there won't be any issues from the user side when they come to open up the app and they're viewing the navigation menu. So we're going to do clear collect, and we're going to give our collection a name, and I'm going to call this one, we'll call this menu collection. And in here, we then need to specify basically what we did with that test data as an array of information in here. And we do this with the open curly brackets. And I'm going to close those as well, just so I don't forget further down the line. And then I'm just going to give this an ID of, which gives ID 1. And we're going to give the menu label, which is what we called it before. And we're just going to name the first tab is going to be called recent. And then we are going to choose which screen name we're going to be sending them to, which for the first one is going to be recent screen. I think the capitalization has to be correct for it. Okay, and then what we can do is we'll just add a comma, and we can just copy and paste this as we want 3 screens. So I'm going to copy and paste this 2 more times, and we'll just remove that comma on the end, as we're not going to be adding anything else onto the end of that. And then we'll also do our closed brackets, just so we don't forget again. Where's that gone? It was under app. There we go. So we just need to basically rename our labels. So we're going to call this one My News, and the screen we're going to send them to is going to be the My News screen, and we're going to call the third one Popular, and we're going to direct them to the Popular screen, like so. I'm just going to give that an ID of 2 and an ID of 3. Okay, so if I just get rid of that for now, let me just test to see if that's doing what we want it to do. So it's not finding menu collection. Now let me figure out why that is. me just check to see if our collections are showing. So our collections aren't actually showing at the moment. And I think this was something to do with the run on start that we had. Menu items, that's gone. So yeah, if we go back to if we select our gallery that we had in our screen, we can assign this what did we call it? It was I forgot what we called it now. It was the menu collection. So let's see if this is going to allow us to okay, we've run into a little error. Let's have a look. Let's see why our collections aren't appearing here. So menu component, menu items, that's correct. And that's using the menu label. And if I just go here, go to advanced, menu label ID and screen, components, let's make sure that's this item menu label, which is what we wanted. Where's that gone? I'm just gonna save and just refresh this to see if that was the reason that this wasn't appearing. Had a similar issue with the app. Last week, so let's just figure this out. Let's just go to Power Apps. And we'll just go back into it. Hopefully our settings have saved. I'm not sure why it wouldn't have done. Okay, so let's have a look. So we're not seeing our second collection, which is a little bit strange. So let's just figure out exactly where that was. So screen, let me just check that that's, sorry about this. It was our collection, our gallery, sorry, menu items, menu collection. Let's have a look. So we've got app on start. have a look. So the name isn't valid. Okay, so menu component _1 is actually what we're using. So yeah, the mistake actually is, if I just rename this, we'll just call this new, see if this works. So menu component new, and that's auto change that. And we'll go to screens, and we'll, go to app. And let me just change these back to 1. I think that might be, or it also could be because I used that in my test as well. So let's give this a try. That's not what we wanted to do. You possibly might be right. Let's have a look. Actually, I think it's a comma. There we go. A comma. Yes, it wasn't a good spot. That's a really good spot. So hopefully now, that should, if I actually go back to my component, I should be able to change that back to what it was. And that should work. So we don't have an error anymore, which is good. Our menu collection, let's just try run on start. There we go. Perfect. So yeah, we got there in the end. Thank you for that, Mark. That was a massive help. I was in panic mode then. But yeah, so good spot on seeing the syntax error, which was basically a comma was needed after menu collection before you specify the array of data that you want to display in there. Yeah, so with that said, what I basically just go back to about 10 minutes where we got to. I basically then selected the menu component, and we just basically called that menu collection was the collection of the menu. The collection of the name of the collection, that we specified on app start, which was here under menu collection. And basically now we have all of the data that we put in here available in our app, in our component. So as you can see, it looks a little bit funny at the moment. We've got this scroll bar, which for a kind of navigation menu isn't ideal. So the way I'm going to fix this, if we actually go to testing, we can see that at the moment it doesn't actually go anywhere. But we can see that the coloured buttons, when each item is selected, is changing, and we do have this scroll bar, which is not exactly what we want. So we're just going to use some simple math to actually correct this. So the way we're going to do this is we know that our app is 640 pixels wide, and if you want to check that, it will be different for the tablet version. If you go to File, and then you go to Settings, and then you go to Screen Size and Orientation, you can see here at the bottom right the resolution in pixels of your application. So we can see that it's 640 by 1136, which is the horizontal by vertical. So we know that it's 640 pixels wide. Now to get a nice kind of menu layout, we basically need to split these up to fit along that 640 pixel axis. So I'm just going to open up the calculator and just do some simple maths. So we know it's 640. Let's not mute my mic. So not 30. We want to do 640 divided by 3, and this is going to give us 213.333 recurring. So it's this value which we want to use to kind of specify the width of each of our boxes, and then hopefully that should remove this little sliding bar that we have and remove any kind of formatting issues that we will run into. So we do this by going into the actual component itself. Now you can see if I drag this all the way to the left and then we go back to our screen, you can see that we've got this kind of open area here, which isn't what we want. I mean, we could try and eyeball it. That would be another option, where we could try and kind of get that into a kind of third sector if we want. Again, it's not ideal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the actual box where we want to specify where each of our buttons are. And in here we can, if you scroll down, you've got template size. So it's not far off. So we basically want to get the value that we had in here, which is 213.3, and put that into the template size, which is 213. I need to stop using my numpad because that changes my screen. 213.3. Let's have a look. I think it was this one that we needed to do. If I go back to screens, view, we can see that it's kind of separated now into these nice central blocks. So however many like tabs or kind of links to different screens you want to go with, you just divide it by that number and use that value. I wonder if you can use %s for widths in Power Apps. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. I mean, from when I was doing a bit of C++, I know %s is how you return a string value. If that's what you mean, but I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, we can go back to our component and we can just kind of resize this how we want it. We'll just kind of drag this around and we'll centralize that. And we can make that the, not sure why that's not working. We'll just, if we select the title, I think itself, and then we can do size, and we'll just put in here as well. We'll put in here as well 213.3. No, that's the height. That's the wrong one. And let's see what wrapping options we have. I want to put that in the center. I'm not sure it's not letting me go right to the end of that box. It's probably something to do with this. We'll just try 213.3 in here. And we'll see if that looks how we want it to. Okay, we're sort of getting there. It's still a little bit off-centered to the left. So instead of 233, can we do width 33%? Okay, that's a good shout. let's have a look. So we'll go into our components. Let me just move this box back over so I can actually select this, and we'll try that in here. So we'll try 33%, and we'll go back to our screens. Okay, that's not how we wanted it to look. It was worth a try. I think the question is, I can't actually select now that box. I'm just going to center the text. Let me just see what else we can change. Let me see if that actually looks better. So yeah, we definitely need to spread that out a little bit, so it looks more like that. And I think that, there we go, that's how we want it to look. So yeah, that's that part all working. So at the moment, these tabs don't actually go anywhere. So we need to do another little expression, which is going to allow us to navigate to each of the screens. So just bear with me, I'm going to go to my components tab on the tree view on the left, and I'm going to select the, not the label, I need to select the box. And under here, with the box selected, we can click on the drop down and scroll down, and we've got on select here. So at the moment, on select, it doesn't do anything. And this is where we need to put in a little bit more of a formula, and we can use navigate, which we've used enough times before. But instead of hard coding or kind of giving it a hard variable of going to a specific screen, we are just going to use this item, because we're already feeding that data in from the clear collect expression that we had, using that screen colon and then the name of the screen. So we'll use this item, and then we'll do dot screen. And we could leave that there, but something that I saw earlier, which I kind of was asking the question around the kind of everybody in Collab365, and that's how to do kind of transitions. And it's as simple as putting a comma, and here you have the option to do transitions. And there's a bunch of like built-in transitions. You've got fade, you've got covers, and you can experiment with some of these if you wanted to kind of see how they work. And I think the one that I used was cover right. I thought that looked quite nice. And then we can do our close brackets as well. And I'm just going to bring that text box back out again. And then if we go to screen, and then we can test our app. Now this should, if I click on any of these icons, take us to that screen. Now at the moment, we're not going to be able to get back to the screen because we haven't put this component on the other screen, other screens in our application. So I've clicked my news. We get a little nice slide in to the left, slide into the right kind of transition, which is quite nice. Makes it feel a little bit more kind of professional, and it gives it a bit more responsiveness as well, rather than being a bit clunky with like just solid kind of switching between screens. But you can do like fades and other things, so you can have a look and mess around with those different transitions. So with that in place, we now need to basically include this component on our other screens. So at the moment, what I'm going to do is I am going to just delete all of our other stuff at the moment. So we've got this red box, which we can get rid of. We've got this plus icon. Now what we can do is we can create this on our component itself, because it's going to be the header which never changes. It's always going to be the same, even though it's dynamic, and we can change the kind of that little fade that we had between switching between apps. But we can include all these other tabs and stuff that we have on here. For instance, when I go to the recent screen, we've got this favorites here. But we can include that in a hamburger menu, which we'll get to as well, all inside of our header component. So what I'm going to do is I am going to add a rectangle, and I'm just going to drag this to full width and height of our component, and I'm going to reorder this and center back. And then what we can do is just select the color that we had. It wasn't that one. It was a custom color, which again is BE3621. And that's going to kind of allow us to blend in with our tabs and look a little bit nicer. So if we just, again, test this out. So if we go to our screens, and we test, not in there, we want to test this on our new screen that we created, we can see that looks how we want it. So if I go back to components, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a few icons which we can configure at a later date. So I'm going to go to add here, and I'm going to do add icon. The first thing I'm going to do is make a hamburger menu, because eventually we want to start adding a little bit of a kind of admin center or a user experience center, where kind of away from the articles, users and admins can do their kind of behind the scenes stuff, where users can select their preferences, they can view their favorites, as well as admins being able to go to another screen where they can approve or reject articles as they come in. So Power Apps gives you a bunch of icons which you can use. Very handy. We've got the hamburger icon, and I'm going to make that, we'll see what it looks like white, but I might make it black, I'm not sure yet. I'm just going to drag that, I think we can resize it. Yeah, we'll just drag that there for now. And we also want to add our plus icon, which was to add an article. So we'll do another icon, and we'll center that. It gives you a kind of line to kind of say where it's centered towards, so we know that that's in line with our hamburger icon. And again, we'll make this white. I think white's going to be nice. And we can worry about kind of the position of that a little bit later. But again, anything that you change in the component will change no matter what screen you're on. So as soon as we go to our screen, which was at the bottom, we can see that that looks exactly how we want it there. So we can go to our recent screen, and I'm just going to make sure that there was nothing important I need. So navigate, that's standard stuff. So we don't really need to copy and paste that anywhere. It was just in case I needed to kind of use what I've previously done, but that shouldn't take too long to fit in. So I'm going to basically remove these buttons off all of our screens that we have. And now we can also remove these titles, because we now have that user feedback with the color change on the menu. So we don't actually need to see where we are. We already know by the kind of different shade that we have. So what we can do is we can, on our screen, just go to custom and bring in our component. And we can see that that's sized nicely. I mean, if we want to change it, again, you just go to your components. You don't have to change it on every single screen. You only have to change it on the one. So we will literally just bring that into our other screens. I've got article submission form, which we'll change that a little bit later. So let's test to see how this looks. So if we go to the test icon, we can see that the first thing we have is the fact that our navigation data that we put in there isn't there. It's still using the sample tab, and that was because we changed this data on our screen. So if I go here, we can see that we change this to our menu collection. So let me just go back to components, and we've got menu items. And I'm just going to see what happens if we put in menu collection, which actually doesn't appear in there. So I think we have to assign this manually per screen. So we'll just go back to our screen, and we will change the menu items to be our menu collection. And I'm just going to copy and paste that across all of our screens. So it's on the menu items and on our popular screen as well. We'll go to our menu items and select menu collection. So now that should be working across the board. Okay, so at the moment it's kind of scrolling the whole kind of menu there. I think an easy way to fix that would be to maybe change it to a fade, because you can't fade between two things already there. It will appear as though it is actually just one thing. So if I remember how we got to it, which was if I select the tab and under screen transitions, we can do, if we do fade, and just bring that back out. Well, let's see how that looks. So go to screen and test it. Okay, that's again doing some weird stuff. I think for now, what we'll do is just set that to none. I think it's screen transition, and then we can just select none from here. And let's see how that looks. Okay, so there's some weird kind of formatting thing going on. I'm not sure exactly why that is. So let's have a look. So it's something that we can come back to. That's going to take a little bit of investigation to actually get to that point. I don't want to kind of sit around for the next 20 minutes trying to figure out that. But I'll probably have to go back, watch the video that I learned this kind of component section from, to kind of see where he kind of fixed that. I think it was something to do with the default page that was selected. But yeah, we'll go back and fix that. Hopefully I'll show you that on the next stream. But yeah, it's starting to look a little bit more user-friendly. And then we can start adding components for our pop-out screen on the left, which is going to be our kind of user area, which again we'll get to at a later point. Hopefully we'll start looking at some more points when I don't have time to kind of look into more interesting things. Excuse me. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there. I know it's taken me an hour just to kind of get through this kind of component section. But again, this is a whole learning process. When you guys are watching the live stream back, hopefully I'll cut out some of the area where I was spent 10 minutes trying to figure something out, which will hopefully help me kind of progress this video along when you guys are watching it. So I'm going to leave it there until next week, and we'll be getting on to some more interesting stuff. But at least now that we have our kind of screen looking a little bit more professional, a little bit more how we like it. Again, that's not centered, which is that reason. But yeah, we're going to be starting to open up little components on the left, which will bring out a secondary navigation menu. I might even bring this kind of add new articles button into our navigation hamburger menu as well. Just to try and keep the kind of, when the app opens to this kind of page, it just looks a little bit more clean. But yeah, we'll get onto that, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it's been a little bit tedious today. If you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the little bell notification icon, and you'll stay up to date when new videos are posted, when we go live on this channel as well. You can also reach out to me on my LinkedIn, which I'll put in the description of this video. So I'll be happy to kind of hear your guys' feedback, to kind of maybe help us progress with ideas in the future. But yeah, I'll leave you with that for now, and hopefully I'll see you all again next Friday at 3 p.m. as per usual. See you later.